Carrabba's.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, hello, friends. Happy Monday to you. Today is October 22nd, 2018. This is Molly McCord, and welcome to our Monday show where we talk about some healing themes as they pertain to the current astrological energies. We're going to look at what it means as we transition from the Sun in Libra to the Sun in Scorpio this week. And I have some visualizations that were just coming through right before this podcast started that I hope help guide you into these energies and what may be coming up for you. So thank you for joining me here. This podcast is live every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's also live every Wednesday at the same times, and you can also listen live on Blog Talk Radio. This podcast is distributed through iTunes, CastBox, Stitcher, YouTube, and other places where you listen to your favorite podcasts. So if you subscribe, you will get the latest episode right away. I hope that your October has felt good thus far. We have had a big summer. We've had big energies. It's going to continue. This is going to be the theme for years to come. So what we do is we get stronger. We get purer within ourselves. We know ourselves on a deeper level. We understand what we're healing, where our choices are, where our power is, as well as where the potentials are in our lives for our best and highest good. And that is truly my intention when I talk about these astrological energies with you. I hope that it helps you with a new level of consciousness within yourself, a return to your soul's intention of why you are here right now, because that is one thing we all have in common. It was the soul's choice to be here in physical form on this gorgeous earth, to be contributing to the collective energy, to be an active, conscious part of it. We are all energies. We are all alive with different frequencies and vibrations, and astrology is one great tool for understanding more about who you are in this lifetime. So this is the perspective that I approach astrology with. As you learn about astrology, you connect with other astrologers who have a different perspective, a different bent, a different philosophy, and that is so wonderful. It's great to sample, to learn from different understandings, to learn from different perspectives. One thing that I found about teaching is that people will often say, well, which one is better, Vedic astrology or Western astrology? And my answer is it does not serve anything to compare. There's really no comparison, whereas you can study one approach to astrology and you can study another, and there might be one that resonates with you, that brings you more answers that fit for you. There are many different types of astrology studies out there. There are different niches as well. There is medical astrology. There is horary astrology. There's astrology that goes deeper into when you ask the question or about an event. There's astrology for everything. I recommend the magazine The Mountain Astrologer, where every 2 months a new issue comes out, and in each issue you have a plethora of ways to look at astrology. There will be beginner articles, for example, and Q&A. There will be more immediate understandings of astrology. There's the day-by-day astrology in the very back of every edition. It's a wonderful publication. So every 2 months, the Mountain Astrologer, they do have digital subscriptions and they have physical copies. I've been getting the physical copies for, almost a few decades now. But it's a great resource if you're really serious about learning astrology. And I do offer an introductory astrology course. You can find out more about that below this episode or also on my website, consciouscoolchic.com, under astrology. And I share more about how to understand your natal chart. And this is a deep dive. This is understanding what it means through the planets, the houses, the aspects, the communication includes the North Node. It includes what's going on in your chart at the time you were born, different ways to understand how the energies are in conversation. I believe that astrology shows you your path in this lifetime. It shows you your energy and your strengths. And that's something that most people are looking for. You're looking for, who am I? What's my purpose? What should I be doing professionally? What should I be healing? So that's why I think it's such a great tool, and it's been exciting to see so many people come to astrology over the years, and that it's something that's actually more mainstream than ever before, and I think that's the trajectory that it's on, and that's where it's going. Most people start learning about astrology through their sun sign, and that's probably how you came to it at first. You saw online or in the paper, okay, what does it say about my sun in Gemini today? And it's a really broad horoscope about Gemini, either for the month or the week or the day. We call this sun sign astrology, and it's very introductory, right? It's how you start to learn about astrology. But when you go deeper into it, that's where it becomes more personalized and more specific. I used to write a column for an online magazine about the sun signs. And I know that there's a lot of information out there based on your sun sign. And that can be beneficial if that's where you're at and you're learning of it. But at some point, people often want to go deeper because it is also quite general. In fact, it's typically a big topic among professional astrologers between the validity of sun sign astrology or not. Some astrologers are against it, some are for it. It's, people have their opinions across the whole spectrum. I personally do no longer do sun sign astrology because I like to go deeper and to help you tune into the energies for yourself. And so that's where I found it to be the most satisfying for people. So that's why I encourage people to continue learning astrology through the various teachers, the various professionals, whatever resources call to you, and to keep going with it, because it will bring you clarity. It will bring you peace, and you'll just understand yourself so much better. So I just like to give you that insight because there's so many ways these days to understand who you are through the lens of astrology. So in today's show, let's look at what is going on as the sun in Libra is at the final degree. So as I do this show, the sun is at 29 degrees of Libra. 29 degrees is called the critical degree. It's the closing degree. It's the very last point before the sun moves into the next astrological sign. And so the 29 degree is a closing energy. It's accumulation. It's what did I learn? What did I move through with this energy? What came up and what is ending? What is transitioning? So the sun in Libra was where we started to exchange our energy with other people. And wherever a Libra is in your natal chart is where that energy is highlighted the most. Libra is a cardinal sign, and it initiates a season. And so here in the Northern Hemisphere, Libra initiates fall, whereas in the Southern Hemisphere, Libra initiates spring. Now, in this period, we then move from that initiation energy of Libra into the solidification energy of Scorpio. So Libra is the cardinal sign. Every cardinal sign is followed by a fixed sign. And Scorpio is a fixed water sign. So in the middle of every season, we have a fixed sign, which really becomes the deepest, most solid part of that season. So we're entering the period of fall in the Northern Hemisphere. That is the time when the leaves fall from the trees, the days get shorter, they get darker earlier, The seasons are changing. It gets cooler. The air is brisker. Of course, it depends where you live. I'm in Florida, and the temperature drops from 88 degrees to 81 degrees, so it's not much of a difference. But in many other places around the globe, your seasons start to change considerably. So when the sun moves from that initiation of the cardinal sign into the fixed energy of Scorpio, we really get the feeling that, okay, fall is here. The season has changed. And we see it through nature. And one thing I've learned is how the trees, when those leaves fall on trees that have the falling leaves, which are different than evergreen trees, it's because the tree's energy no longer goes into producing the leaves or taking care of it. The tree's energy begins to turn inward and comes to the bark of the tree, a bit like hibernation. The tree begins to go into hibernation to sustain itself and to stay stronger during the colder temperatures or the winter months. So nature is always a great teacher of this, of course, of energies and what we're moving through. So the energy is no longer in the external world. When the sun moves into Scorpio, the energy becomes transitioned into the internal process. And what do I need to let go of as the leaves fall to the ground? What do I need to release? Where do I no longer need to put my energy so that I can bring the energy inside of me for deeper reflection, wisdom, and understanding? Now, Scorpio is a interesting sign. It's probably one of the most mysterious and one of the most misunderstood energies in the zodiac. And so we move from the sun in Libra, where we're talking and exchanging and partnering and having conversations and getting information. Libra is very social. Libra is very talkative. It's an air sign. There's lots of ideas. There's things to do in the world. There's people to hang out with. Maybe projects get underway. Things get started with Libra. But then when we move into Scorpio, there's a retraction. There's a sense of, okay, through Libra, I accumulated new information. I had lots of conversations. I heard new ideas. I learned about people. I learned who I like. I learned who I don't like. And there's a retreat in Scorpio, an energetic retreat that is asking you to look at, now, how do I feel about the information I've gathered? How do I feel about the people I've met or the people I've hung out with or the people I interact with? Scorpio is a private sign. It is a water sign. It's an emotional energy, but it's asking you to come inward. And it's asking you to consider how you really feel. Not simply what you think, but how you feel. So the transition from Libra to Scorpio is moving from the talkative, the cerebral, the mental activity of the air signs into the feeling nature of the water signs. And what am I really sitting with? What is sitting within me? What's coming up within me under the surface? Now I need to pull back and think about what I've been through, but then drop that energy from the head into the heart and into the emotional energy body. Scorpio is designed to help you get to the truth of how you feel. And it's the full spectrum between what you may fear or what feels uncomfortable versus what you really own and feel powerful about. And so this is an energy where perhaps you feel less social, or you're just more selective about who you merge with. And merge is a great word to describe Scorpio. How do you merge with other people? How do you merge within yourself? How do you merge your head and your heart, your thoughts and your feelings, so that you become more powerful with that accumulated wisdom? Scorpio is the 8th sign in the zodiac. So when we look at where the energy first began in this current spiral, when we look at Aries, you're looking at, okay, everything that I've been through and learned and healed and understood, now I take all of that and I bring it back into myself, and what do I really feel? And this is a deep feeling energy, and it's passionate, it's desire, it's where you have some clarity, ideally, about what you really want and what you really need. And Scorpio asks you to go a little deeper in. And so the visual that I'm seeing around this is that it actually reminds me of the Lord of the Rings and one of those hobbit homes in Middle Earth where you're outside socializing, meeting people, hanging with the hobbits, and then, okay, you're like, I have to retreat and go into my hobbit hole. And it's one of those doorways in the earth, right, where you're opening that door and you're going into a place that feels very private, protected, and it could also feel like an inner sanctuary, an inner chamber. It's meant to be a place that, this is interesting, but it's actually meant to be darker, meaning you're meant to get away from some of that bright, blinding sunlight and take a pause to go inward and look at what's underneath, what can't be seen with the eyes, what must be felt, what's lingering, what's lurking, what's underneath the surface. And so it's a bit like you're moving into this other part of your energy field where there's more for you to discover. There's more for you to intuitively tune into. Because when you remove, it's like you close your eyes and you remove the visuals, you remove the outside world, you remove anything outside of yourself, and you tune in to listen. And you tune into your intuition and how you feel, what comes up. See, Scorpio energy can be incredibly insightful and powerful when it tunes out everything else around it. And so that's one of the gifts of even going into these darker chambers or these darker places where it's not meant to be dark as in scary, but it's meant to be a removal of distractions so that you can tune into the truth, the wisdom, the emotions that you didn't feel before because everything else was pulling at you. Really taking time to pull back and go within. Now, Scorpio energy, just like all astrological signs, has many different meanings and archetypes, and there's different ways that the energies show up and play out. So what I'm describing is just simply one way of working with that energy. And to honor it, to honor what you connect with in the dark. And yes, there is the dark night of the soul, and yes, there are the times when we move through very dark periods. But what I'm feeling right now is that when you're in that place, it feels like a dark silence, right, where you're safe. You're safe. There's nothing to fear. There's no monsters in the closet. There's no monsters under the bed. It's like you're in just a place of stillness, the stillness. And what do you hear in the stillness? And what do you feel? Well, hopefully you feel your heartbeat. That's a good sign. Hopefully you hear yourself. And hopefully you can tune in to other voices or messages that you weren't able to tap into before. So that's one of the gifts of Scorpio is that we say, I need to go within. And I feel like this darkness is only meant to honor the inner journey and the inner messages. And that's truly the most powerful way to use this time and to use this energy, is to listen to what's within you. And darkness can be soft. It can be like crushed velvet or that delicious chenille, that just has this comfort to it, where you're just at peace within yourself and you're just at peace with trusting what you feel and what comes up and your energy and the messages. And this is all really important right now because of the four planets in Scorpio. Jupiter at 26 degrees of Scorpio, Mercury at 18 degrees of Scorpio, and Venus retrograde at 5 degrees of Scorpio. And so with the sun now entering Scorpio, it brings up these parts of yourself that have been sitting there in the dark waiting for you. They've been waiting for your attention. They've been waiting for your time and your presence. So take a moment to just visualize yourself sitting in a darkened room and look around. Like I'm seeing the image of a circle, right? Like you're sitting in a circle, and look at what energies show up, or what spirit guides, or what messengers, or what voices. Who needs to talk to you? Now, this could energetically go off in so many directions. I mean, you could connect with past life energies. You could connect with current life energies. You could connect with spirit guides or angels. You could connect with people in this life that you can only talk to energetically or intuitively, such as, say, a family member who has been abusive to you, or a problem, or very harsh. They represent the Scorpio energy in some way, where it's felt like somebody has taken away your power. There could be abuse. There could be something shameful. There could be something very unhealthy about them. And for you to feel safe, you can only talk to them energetically or intuitively. You can't deal with them in the first person or in the physical. It's not safe for you. Scorpio shows you that. Scorpio is the energies of what we don't see, but what we feel. So if you were to sit in the dark and there's someone you need to express your power to, trust that. This energy is really intense from now until the end of October. So another week or so where we have this really powerful Scorpio energy signature. And you might feel ghosts or people coming around to energetically connect with you, and you'll have to decide what boundaries to put up and how you allow them to connect with your energy. I read a great quote a few days ago about how walls keep people out, boundaries allow people to find the door, right? So it's that visual of a fence, where the fence can be as high as you need it to be, and then you can determine if they can find the gate to come in, but it's based on the boundaries you've established. So it's really important with any time we have a lot of water in the sky to look at where the boundaries are, because water energy actually doesn't, one of its weaknesses is that it just allows things to come in and it doesn't have boundaries. And in Scorpio, we look at what are the boundaries around my power. Where is my power? And one of the illusions that can come up is that you assume that someone else has the power. that someone else outside of you is more powerful because of their role in your life, their title, their status, their resources, anything that is ultimately an illusion, because as souls, we are all equally powerful. But when we're here on the earth and we're all on the same playground, some people have different ways of using their power and of learning about power. So the Scorpio illusion is that someone other than you is more powerful. And we experience this, and it's very valid to experience this through any types of situations and scenarios. But this is where you call it back to you, and you do it in a way that supports you. So again, this energy of Scorpio is very strong until the end of this month, and then it transitions, because then on November 1st, Mercury goes into Sagittarius, and Venus retrogrades back into Libra. So there's a little bit of breathing room there when those two planets move out of Scorpio in November. And then coming up on November 8th and 9th, depending on your time zone, Jupiter moves into Sagittarius. So right now, we have a real deep dive of Scorpio intensity. And you could feel that. Again, it's wherever the Scorpio energy is in your natal chart. So what you're healing is the illusions around your sense of power, around where you have felt disconnected from your intuitive nature, and where you haven't been trusting your emotions and what needs to heal. We often say that we have life and then death, right? That's the cycle. But in Scorpio, it's death and then life. Death, something must die, something must be complete. And we say metamorphosis and transformation, and then it's after that that something new is born, that the phoenix rises. And Scorpio is the phoenix rising energy. But first there has to be a death. So it could be that you feel yourself going into this, what we'll say is like the darker room, that private chamber or inner sanctuary. And in there, you see what's complete for you. And that can be something in the physical world. That can be something in your emotional world. It can be something spiritual. It can be a belief system. It can be a perspective. There's so many ways that something can feel complete. But we know that energy is always in motion. Energy is always transforming. So then you turn it into something else. And Scorpio is associated with magic. And it can be dark magic, and it can be white magic. It's all about the intention of what you're moving through, the intention of the energies that you're using. So we have this interesting signature right now of all of us really looking at what needs to die, what fear, what limitation, what construct, what belief system needs to die so that it can be rebirthed into another form that really helps where I'm going next. And see, that's why the Sagittarius energy follows Scorpio, because Sag is about the bigger picture. Okay, this is what's next. This is what I've learned. This is my bigger vision. So we go through the deeper intensity of Scorpio, which, by the way, it can really suck. It can be really hard. It's exhausting. It's emotional. You could feel like you're just crying and crying and crying. If you're feeling something really deeply, it could be a deeper imprint in your DNA cells or even in your bloodline that you're healing. And it could be through other lifetimes. It could be other timelines, because even saying past lives, it's easy in the vernacular to use past lives, but that's all an illusion of time, because everything is happening in the now through the various timelines that we use time to experience the physical, but in other dimensions there is no timeline. Everything's in the now. And that's not really how our brains are programmed to understand time. So that's why it can be really confusing when we talk about past lives or future lives. It's like it's all actually happening right now, but you're looking at the clock and you're like, well, how is it happening now? It's like I still have to have dinner later and I have to go to the movie later, because we live on the linear timeline of Earth. But in the higher realms, everything's happening now, and that's why you can feel things so intensely. In fact, I've had clients who are, I'm trying to remember her exact situation, but she was moving through something really intense, and I kept getting the visual that she was experiencing the same energy across 4 other lifetimes at the same time. It's like instead of physically dying in this lifetime, she was experiencing a really intense experience of death in parts of her life where things were changing permanently. And in other lifetimes, she was actually dying in those various lifetimes, like she was a female or she was a male, and there was a war, or there was all these other things that were all converging in the same timeline, and that's why she was experiencing things so heavily in this lifetime, because in this lifetime she has the higher level of consciousness, and her energy was big enough, it's like her aura was big enough that she could tap into those other lifetimes and be experiencing them all at once, and that's why it was so big, and that's why it was so emotional. But even that understanding helps you to say, okay, yeah, I'm experiencing this times 4. That's why it feels so gigantic. It's not just about right now. So that's part of what the Scorpio stuff does. It's almost like if you have stuff that has been backing up, that's not been purged, that comes through with Scorpio. Scorpio is a purging. It's a detox, but it has to be at your own free will and with your own intention. And what can happen also with all the Scorpio energy is that you can unconsciously play power games with other people in order to experience your own power. This is where the manipulation, betrayal, control issues, lying, deceit, all of that can come up, because the Scorpio energy, when it's unconscious, it looks for those outlets. It usually brings in money. It brings in abuse of power. It brings in all these unhealthy ways that people can throw around their energies because they don't understand how to consciously use their own power. So these are big themes until the end of October, which is 10 days away, which means we only have about 10 or 11 weeks left of this year. 10 or 11 weeks left of 2018. What do you need to get rid of? What is done? What needs to die by your own conscious choice? What do you need to, stick a fork in it? It's done. And also really get clear about your intention and really get clear around what gifts, healing, lessons, or understanding you arrived at through this experience, through what you are letting go of and releasing. What did it bring you? Because when you can identify that faster, when you can tune in to what you learned, what you healed, what you came to understand, it helps to move the energy forward. It brings you greater understanding and perspective, and it returns you to your power. And that's what Scorpio is ultimately meant to do. It says, okay, even though everyone outside of me has this, this, and this, what do I have within me? And it's merging within you. Merging, again, a strong Scorpio keyword. How do I merge with others, but how do I merge with myself? And also at this time of year, the veil between dimensions can feel really thin. This is also when people can open up to more gifts of mediumship and seeing people who have passed or energies that have passed, or seeing other realms, other dimensions. And that's part of how you can see in the dark something different than what you can see in the light. And being able to honor what you can see in this energy is vital. Is vital to honoring the whole. The whole. So the Scorpio energy invites us inward, invites us into our hobbit holes, under the earth, into those inner sanctuaries and private chambers to listen, to get quiet, and to trust the messages. Now, the other way that Scorpio energy is known to play out is through how we share with other people, again, merging, how we get to know them on a deeper level, how we get to know their fears, their vulnerabilities, their perspectives, their opinions, what they've learned, what they've been through. And with Jupiter moving through Scorpio since last year, Jupiter's been paving the way for these stories to come out and be discussed. What was private is now in the public eye. The Me Too movement, of course, is the prime example of this, of what has really created deep shame and affected one's self-identity or professional world has come public, and we've seen how power has been abused, how people have felt disempowered, all Scorpio themes. And because of that energy being brought up, it has the gift of allowing that experience to transform you into this new version of self that is more powerful, that's more in charge, that's more trusting of one's voice and one's feelings. All very big, all very big. So the sun in Scorpio is going to be trailing over where Jupiter in Scorpio has been moving since last October 2017. So the sun brings in the giant spotlight. More secrets coming out, more revelations, more mysteries coming up, more information. I mean, all this Scorpio energy means more is coming up because the sun is saying now it's time to shine a light on just these few other areas that perhaps we missed as Jupiter voyaged through Scorpio. The sun and Jupiter will not connect in Scorpio. Instead, they're going to connect in Sagittarius on November 26th, 27th. I'm calling it 3 days because of how slowly Jupiter moves. They'll be connecting at 3 and 4 degrees of Sagittarius, which is right after the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. So the sun and Jupiter are going to line up together the end of November. Obviously, that's a ways off. It's about a month away. But I'm saying that because there's going to be some type of deeper process that you're meant to purge, get rid of, and feel. Feel it out. Cry it out. Talk it out. Share it. Get it out. Because Scorpio is meant to help you purge it, purge emotionally. And when you do that, you're going to learn so much more about yourself, and then you gather up higher faith, trust, and belief in yourself, which is what the Sun and Jupiter conjunct in Sagittarius will bring. So we're in this process right now of really getting to the heart of some things that we didn't see before. So going back to this visual of sitting in a circle in a dark room and just trusting who you see or trusting who comes forward or the voices that you hear, you might receive more information that's really ultimately healing for you. It could be triggering. It could be something that you didn't realize was there. But if you can stay centered and grounded in your power around this, it will move through. It will help heal you. It will help you release what you're done with. And it could be across many lifetimes. Many lifetimes. I feel like we're really meant to honor this Scorpio journey here until the end of October, because with the veils being thinner and our intuition heightened and our emotional bodies heightened, it's like, don't be afraid, okay? Because you're meant to stay in a place of trusting, and more trusting of what you feel, of what is meant to support your inner self right now. I know that some of you have been moving through a really hard time with Jupiter and Scorpio and just the transits in general through your charts. And please know that it always pays off. You know, the universe, God, source, spirit, whatever you call it, always provides us with the greater healing perspective and rewards for what we go through. And that it's all meant to show you the multi-facets, like the many facets of your energy. It's meant to show you the different reflections, the different sides, the different angles. I mean, it's like a Merkaba that has so many different angles and sides to it. And when you start to turn a Merkaba around and you see it in these different angles and different light, like, wow, it's really amazing how it can reflect and shine, and how even the shadows offer something more. So please stay open to the fullness of your energy, the fullness of your soul experiences, and do not personalize it. Do not accept it as like, this is who I am. Like, if you're feeling grief, that grief is an energy that's moving through you. It's not who you are. If you're feeling sadness, that sadness is moving through you. It is not who you are. Emotion is energy in motion. I wrote about this in my book, The Art of Trapeze, that came out in 2013. And then I saw that Gaia did a documentary or something about the same topic. Emotion is energy in motion. And it's not meant to be identified. You're just meant to flow with it, like a waterfall, right? It just flows over the edge and moves along and moves out. So understand that it's all part of the depths of our energy, the depths of our experiences, and that it's not meant to be something you cling to, but rather you stay open, you stay trusting, you stay in a place of personal power, where you understand that you're strong enough to move through anything when you're really in that energy of your soul's light. And that's what I'm seeing. So the final image I want to give you is, if you look at all 7 chakras, just remember how at the core of each chakra there is a pristine, pure light. Tap into that, and it will help transform and move anything through you as we move through the final week here of October. I'll be back on Wednesday with more guidance about the specific astrology transits of right now. That's also a powerful full moon in Taurus. I have a separate video for you on YouTube with that energy. I hope this helps you understand what might be coming up and to retain trust in the process, trust in yourself, and in trust in what you can't see, because also through this time is how you're understanding more about your energy and how everything ultimately is meant to support you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for connecting, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday. Take good care, my friends. Bye-bye.